Hey, greetings. My name is Shane Mater, and I'm doing a review of the California C-10 electrical exam that I just took. And today is October 25th, 2024, and I took the exam on Tuesday. So I'm kind of trying to do it while it's so fresh in my mind to help give people some pointers on like what to expect, more or less. There won't be any like verbatim questions or anything, but it'll kind of give you an overview of what to expect, what kind of things you might see on the test, and hopefully it'll be helpful to a few people and help you pass. So first of all, this is my 8th state exam, and different states. Is the first one in California, but I'm licensed in multiple states, so I've had the experience of taking exams in other states to get qualified for those states. And this is the first closed book. Yeah, this is the first closed book exam that I've ever taken. All the rest of them are open book. And after taking both, I got to say I do prefer the open book exam because you can find the answers exactly, you know exactly what they're looking for. It's not open to interpretation of any kind, which some of the questions, there was at least 4 questions on this exam. There was 115 questions altogether, 3.5 hours for the California test, and there was a few questions on there, 4 or 5, that were kind of open to interpretation a little bit, and I would rather have a concrete answer, find it in the book, exactly what they're looking for, so there's absolutely no question I got it right. So anyway, also let me mention, I live in Arizona. I had to drive over to a PSI testing facility to take the exam. California is one of the only states that requires you to go in-state to take it. I think they offered it at one other location. It was Albuquerque, New Mexico. So if you're on the East Coast, you've got no choice. You've got to fly out there. And the only other option was Albuquerque, which for me would have been another 2 hours of driving. So I opted to just take it at the PSI testing facility in San Diego, and it worked out. It worked out fine. I had a little trip out of it, and I enjoyed the weather and going over there. It was real nice. I mean, I hadn't been there in like 20 years, so good opportunity to go over there. But so anyway, I took it at a PSI testing facility, and I'll mention this. I've been to multiple PSI testing facilities, and they always seem to be hidden for some reason. There's very little document, or they don't put it on the outside of the building anywhere. There's no signs for it, and once you're in one of those buildings, you have to look at the list of businesses that are in there, and sometimes they aren't listed for some reason. So I don't know why they do it like that, but it's like a government facility almost, where they just keep it hidden. So my recommendation is to do a dry run the day before the exam. I went over 3 days early to do studying and you know, kind of get the lay of the land. And I did a dry run to go to the testing facility from my hotel the day before, so I knew what to expect, parking, and you know, just I would highly recommend that. I do that every time, so I don't run into any kind of surprises when I get there. I will say parking was extremely limited at this place. There was, I mean, it's a 4-story building, and there was probably maybe 20 parking spots total. The rest of them were all marked private, do not park. So yeah, you got to get there early in order to get a spot close by. So that's one thing. So the PSI testing facility overall, it was real nice. The people were super nice there, very accommodating. My exams, I took both business and law on Monday, and then I took the C-10 trade exam on Tuesday. And both exams started at 9, and both mornings they got me in early. I was able to start each exam 20 minutes early, so that was nice. I was ready to go and didn't want to have to sit around and wait and you know, kind of be nervous. So they got me right in. It was real nice of them. Let's see. Also, I would recommend if you have to come in from out of state, obviously get a hotel that is right near the testing facility. That way you don't have to worry about traffic or anything. Mine was actually within walking distance, so that worked out very well for me. I planned it that way. So, so as for the exam, like I said, this is my 8th exam, and some of the other ones, or most of the other ones, had a few more calculations on it than this one did. Altogether, I recall there being 6 calculations total, and 3 of the calculations were like Jim and Bob have 14 solar panels they have to install. If Jim's getting paid $20 an hour and Bob's getting paid 10, that kind of stuff. And it just took a little figuring. It wasn't anything in depth. I was expecting. I had prepared for volumes and diameters and Pythagorean theory and all that kind of stuff. And there wasn't any of those questions on there. As a matter of fact, out of the 6 calculations, I only needed a calculator for 2 of them, and that was just to make sure I didn't make any mistakes, really. So if you're worried about the math part of it, don't, because it's not that difficult. And I found that on the other exams, just the other ones had a few more calculations on it than this one did. There was absolutely no resistance questions. This is the first one I've ever taken where there's no resistor questions. I had prepared for those and refreshed up on my knowledge of resistance and parallel and series, and adding them all, none. So now, that's not to say that there won't be some on a different version of the test, because I guess there's multiple versions of the test, and I can definitely understand that, because being that they're on a computer and they're electronic, they probably have a big pool of questions, of probably like 200 and something questions, I'm just guessing, and they just pull some out. They're just randomly thrown on 115 questions onto your exam, and that's what you get. And that way it keeps it fresh and keeps people from cheating and things like that. So I can understand that. It's much different than the paper test that I took when I started taking these back in 99 or 98, something like that. Let's see. So we went over the labor calculations, and let's see. There was also 5 questions on solar equipment, and I'm talking the parts of solar, a solar installation, the breakers and some of the module parts, things like that. So there's about 5 questions on those that you have to know. And fortunately, I studied up on that. I don't work with that stuff all the time, but I did do a study class. As a matter of fact, I took the learn how to pass, learn how to take the exam, a refresher course, whatever you want to call it, from the Contractors Intelligence School. That's who I use there in California, and they were real good. The study material was pretty close. I mean, it wasn't exactly what was on the exam, but it was pretty close. It helped you get mentally prepared on how to find things or how to start thinking the right, in the right terminology in case you're rusty at some of this stuff, because there's hardly any of us that use all this stuff all the time. I mean, unless you're teaching it or something. So there's things that I hadn't worked with in a long time, and the pre-exam study material definitely helped. So I would highly recommend that. So there was the 5 solar questions. There was only 1 architectural scale measurement, and that was obviously, you have to know how to read an architectural ruler. So there was just 1 of those. I thought there was going to be more. Let's see. Also, what I didn't know up until just a few days before the exam was that they give you a booklet. It's like a 11 or 13 page booklet that comes with your exam, and it's got schematics and a legend in it and some drawings. Let's see. There's a commercial panel board depiction in there, and also a couple solar arrays. And there were probably, out of the 115 questions, there was probably 20% of the questions referred to the book. You had to refer to the book in order to find the answers. So if you aren't good at reading schematics or blueprints, it wasn't anything super hard, but you have to at least know how to read basic blueprints. So and the questions, to give you an idea, the questions were like, you refer to the blueprint to figure out how many GFCI outlets are in room B, and then if they're $20 a piece, what's your total bill for parts for that room? Things like that. So you have to know what you're looking for in order to apply the dollar figure to it and then get a total. So it's relatively easy stuff. They just want to make sure you know how to figure that out. Also, one thing I was surprised by is they only had like 3 questions on 3-phase equipment, and I was expecting a lot more, but there was only 3 relatively simple questions on 3-phase equipment, and you know, so don't overstudy for 3-phase stuff if you're a residential electrician. You know, it was also kind of common knowledge, but you still had to understand 3-phase. And then 3 of the questions also that I recall were on the schematic of the commercial panel board. So you also, you have to make sure you know how to read the schematic on a commercial panel board and differentiate between 208 and, that was another couple of 3-phase questions that was related to that panel board. And so there was only 3-phase questions total. So those were part of them. And man, I all in all, I used every bit of the 3.5 hours. I thought that I would just blaze through it, and I looked at the clock, and I had used to get from. I didn't go through it like they always say, go through it, skip the hard questions or calculation and go back to it, and I just didn't do that. I don't know why on this test. I think most of the questions, because it was open book. It's kind of like or it's closed book. You either know it or you don't. So there's not really a lot of stuff you can go back to. I did flag probably 6 questions to go back to when I got to the end, and I went back to those 6 questions, thought about it a little bit more, did my answers, and then at that point I had about 30 minutes left over of the 3.5 hours to go back and check my questions one more time just to make sure I didn't misread something like a not or should not be, something like that. I was able to go back through about half of them. By the time I ran out of time, I was down to 1 minute, and I said, all right, either I pass or I fail. At this point, there's nothing else I can do. And fortunately, I passed. I honestly, when I finished the exam, I didn't, I wasn't sure whether I passed it or not. It could have gone either way. And at this facility in California, I don't know whether it's the state or what, but they don't give you the pass or fail right there when you're at the computer. You have to go outside the room, and then the proctor will print out a form, and that's what tells you whether you pass or fail at that point. So I didn't know whether I passed or failed, but when I got out, she printed it out, and fortunately I passed. So obviously I was ecstatic to hear that. So anyway, that's all the information I can really think of. I make these videos to try and help people know what to expect and hopefully relax you a little bit more so you're not all stressed out going in there. Definitely study for it ahead of time. Take one of the pre-exam classes I have for each one of my 8 exams, and I felt them all very beneficial. And some of them are better than others, but the one that I took for the Contractor Intelligence School, they did a very good job. Their staff is real helpful. Anytime I had a question, I could email them or call, and they were right on the ball with answering it. And I did give them feedback about the exam also when I got out of there. So I would recommend them. They have been in business, I think, since 2009. And anyway, that's one thing that I would highly recommend, because even though you think you might, say, well, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, you probably do know what you're doing, but when it comes to these kind of questions, like I said, there's questions on there that you would never come across in a million years. So anyway, I think that's it. So good luck on the exam. If you have any questions, I'm going to upload this onto YouTube. If you have any questions, put them down below, and I'll try and respond back to answer anything that I can. And good luck on your exam. Thanks. Bye.